Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm your host, Matthew, aka Mr. Boom Boom Pow 1. And today we're starting a new challenge on the channel. I really want to go through this entire game, so, Lone Wolf, and just figure out what the best subclass, whether it be a fighter subclass, paladin, wizard, sorcerer, there's a lot of options, maybe even a druid. But, yeah, you know me. Part 3 to the Jack of All Trades should be coming out soon, by the way. Gotta finish editing it. But I put every subclass into a wheel, spun it, and I figured every time we get a new one, I'm just gonna finish the challenge, remove the wheel, so we're eventually done. But, starting off, as you can tell by the channel, we do get a Conjuration. Honestly, I'm okay with that. That's one of those subclasses I want to try for a while. It's not exactly the best. At level 2, I believe, you get, Create Water, which isn't exactly helpful. But I did end up going with a high half-elf for the extra cantrip. I feel like we're going to be needing all the extra damage or abilities. I keep us on a sage background more so because I just couldn't think of anything to give this character. Abilities, I end up switching I end up resetting the character all times. I started off with a high dexterity for the Ace Constitution, intelligence. And spells, find familiar because I want the. But starting off with the Nautaloid, we just kind of do the damn thing. Hope you guys enjoy. Once we get off the Nautaloid, we're actually able to hit level. The only real benefit we get starting off with Conjuration is create or destroy water. Which actually, funny enough, there's 2 or 3 fights I end up having through Act 1, which actually come in handy having create water. Just getting rid of fire up, so I can't even complain about that. And there are some things we can do later on, spells, maybe even with the air elemental when I can finally summon him, be able to do attack and cover damage. Hopefully, because I do plan on taking advantage. But after that, we do end up going up Goblin attack, which, funnily enough, actually isn't that big of an issue. Usually when I do this type of challenge, where it's just my own character, no other, I typically have some kind of annoyance with the goblins, where they land all their attacks on me. I have to stay up on the hill. But we don't really have to worry about it. But once we get past there, we end up going up Nadira from Goblin Bugbear Assassin. And dude, I hate this guy. Thankfully, he's not really much of an issue, but dealing with him and talking to a few gets us 3, which just means more spells, and I end up taking Darkness. But, yeah, no, Darkness is not that helpful. And, I'm realizing now, no, I did not take Darkness. I took Misty Step. I think level 4 is Darkness. As I assumed having my Dark Vision would have been helpful, but not. But we just end up going as far as we can. We go through the crypt, and we cry a little bit because it's more annoying than you would hope it would be. But no, it's not. It's just a very big pain in the butt. It was honestly at this point, once I got to Wither's Crypt, that I kind of figured, oh my god, I'm only going to have access to light armor and shields, which is fine. Unfortunately, there are no feats that can give you access to medium or heavy armor, at least in my memory. But yeah, no, dude, these fights are going to be a lot more melee focused than I would like, at least in the early round. Once we get our spells level 2 and level 3, and we have multiple than just one, I'm gonna be able to start using it. But unfortunately at this point I only have Flaming Spear and Find Familiar, which Flaming Spear's fine, you know, it's like a tanky little rock for me to just hit things with. Find Familiar is kind of okay for like a one and done hit. Or just kind of like blinding enemies, which is helpful. Because at this point, for a while at least, I only really used like a knife. I'm even when you get like access to like +1 hand knife, that's like the best I got for a while at least until I get the Jolt Shooter or Staff. But a lot of fights are going to be a lot longer than I would like them to be, and I gotta rely more so on using shield than my actual spells on these. So it's unfortunate, but we'll get our way through it. You know? Thankfully, we're able to get to Aeens Rest. We end up saving Floric, which gives us access to our Jolt Shooter, I believe it's called, Quarterstaff, which actually, even though it's a little bit weaker attack-wise than some of the other, staffs we can get, is going to be helpful for a lot of this run. Yeah, the Spell Sparklers, my fault. I'm so used to taking the bow. But we do end up going toward the west a little bit, and we end up checking out where the Githyanki are held up. Yeah, I only have one inspiration, and I'm not going to be getting any more anytime soon. So I'm not going to be talking to these guys, so I have at least 2 or 3 saved up in the bank, because that's going to be a big issue, at least for the moment. Once we make our way over to the Goblin Camp, thankfully, it gives us just enough XP to hit level 4, because, my god, we have, like, no HP at this point in the game. I think it was only 26 at level 4, which is crazy. But that does give me the confidence to go take out Karlach. We end up getting the Sword of Tyr, which, again, we're not going to be able to use because we're a wizard. But it makes me confident enough to put a few fire barrels down, you know, the one. And just throw a little firebolt, because the more XP, the better, you know? I think he's like 5 XP, each of these paladins. But, you know, that's just more for have fun. It was at this point I decided, let's just start taking out the goblins all outside the camp, because we can kill these without having to worry about the inside. So I figured, let's just throw this spectator out now. I'm not going to be able to revive him in Act 2. And he can take a bunch of hits, and then if he kills them, we get XP. If they kill him, we get XP, you know? The more the merrier for me, to make me happier. Eventually the goblins do technically beat him, but they take a lot of casualties, while I'm just kind of off to the side having a good time, you know? But it is sad. I would like to have this guy stick around a lot longer for different fights, but why not? It just makes it a little bit easier on my day. Inside the Goblin Camp, I decide, let's just slowly take these guys out. We don't have to worry about them later on, right? Right. Yeah, we used our barrels on Joraxlin, who somehow survives. I don't know how, but it's alright. We ended after like a turn or two. But dude, I used like 8 or 10 barrels, and this man tanked it. What? But thankfully, the dudes who did survive and back him up, they're not an issue at all. So we just magic missile him and get away with it. It does get the rest of the camp to attack us, which, you know, again, we just take them out because more XP. But we end up having Minthara go back to the Grove, which ends up being a lot more aggravating than I would have thought it would have been. Zevlor dies, the tieflings guarding it die, and we end up leading a giant conga line in the Druids Grove. It's hard to explain what I mean by conga line, but if you look at the screen here, oh my god, they just chase me down and hunt me down. I make my way all the way down to the middle of the Grove. Thankfully, I'm able to overcome all these guys after giving up and then going down to level up, or get XP, I should say. I come back up after a second fight, beat Minthara, thankfully. She gone. We end up going down to fight the spiders, which, again, is a lot more difficult than I would have liked it to be. Thankfully, at this point, I am level 5. So it's not that big of a deal. I do have more spell slots. I have more access to HP. Equipment I've gotten is kind of helpful, not incredibly, but it's better than like literally having nothing. I can't be too big of a... Once we actually get to the Grim Forge, I kind of decided to just start taking out as many Dwagar as possible. We end up going up to try and get the Smoke Powder Bomb, which ends up getting us an encounter with jellies. Honestly, am I the only one who actually kind of really likes slimes? It's not like, I don't think they're cool or anything, I appreciate them for existing. But they do almost whoop my ass, so I end up going all the way back to the boats at the Grim Forge, dude. I don't even know how to explain how, aggravating that was. But it's not the worst thing in the world. I've dealt with more. But when I decided to get this smoke powder barrel, I decided, let me go invisible. Thankfully, I have that ring. I can steal it, then I can talk her down from trying to fight me or give me anything kind of trouble, which, it's better than nothing. So a strategy I picked up during my Jack of all trades run, if you stand up top by these levers and you just attack the Dwagar, they literally cannot do anything except throw maybe 3 or 4 javelins at you, and then that's it. If you just keep positioning yourself, they literally will spend the entire time just standing beneath you as you can pelt them. Spells, cantrips, anything you want. Literally anything. So usually the last maybe 3 or 4 you'll have to run down and actually take care of. But at that point, they should be weakened enough that you don't have to worry too much about, dying. Hopefully, at least, you don't have to worry about dying. Thankfully, it is enough to actually level us up again, eventually, after we take out all the Dwagar. Which, you would think would be good. Not, but it's good. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, we end up having to take out Nier, and honestly, he's not as difficult as I thought he would be. I assumed that it was going to be one of those situations where I fight Nier and he ends up kicking my butt like 2 or 3 times, but oh, we're good. We're good. I don't have to worry about it. I eventually decide, there's another spectator down here, and we might as well take him out if we can. This is a pretty scary fight, especially if you're kind of dumb like I typically am with it and just kind of go guns blazing, which is one of the reasons I'm glad we're not doing an honor mode run, because I am not that talented at this game. I'm not that skilled. But yeah, man, look at this big beautiful meatball, dude. Look at all these teeth, that big old eye. Look at that greenish and blue eye. It's beautiful, right? Absolutely beautiful. Look at those teeth. We do end up kind of getting our ass kicked, but it's not the end of the world, No. The Jolt Shooter or the Spell Sparkle, whatever this thing is called, it helps us do damage, but doesn't exactly mean things go our way, because he awakens a Drow, Drow wakes up, he then hurts us, he then beats us up by paralyzing us, and then he bites us. So I end up having to come back here later on, because I can't do that. So this is when I finally decided to fight Nier, But this is one of those situations where if these gnomes touch the fire, then they might go aggro on you, where the Create Water is actually kind of helpful. One of the few situations. There aren't many situations, but it's one of the very few situations, Once we head through the forge just a little bit farther in, we end up getting the easiest fight in the entire run, at least in terms of difficulty. It is probably one of the longer fights just because of how much HP this guy has. But Grim, thanks to us having Misty Step, is not an issue at all, in the slightest. He's just one cool looking robot, Optimus Prime looking dude, man. Look how cool he is, dude. First time I had this fight, I was like, bro, that's so cool. Look at this man. But thankfully, since we have, like I said, access to Misty Step, we're able to just kind of cheese the fight and go up top, because he has no ranged abilities. So we're able to just kind of what we want with the hammer, which does deal a big chunk of damage to him. Eventually, we do end up headed towards the mountain pass after a quick respec where I end up putting on a shield instead of our dual wielder feat. And I think I ended up taking alert as a feat, but the Githyanki are taking on the Absolute's Cold, which I'm fine. Let them fight each other, but it gives me a reason to come here anyways. We end up doing a lot of things. We end up taking the egg inside. We get the Blood of Lathander. We end up taking down all the Githyanki just to level, because at the end of this we'll be a little past level 7, because if you go to Act 2 and you're below level 7, I'm sorry, that's just one aggravating thing that you're supposed to do. But yeah, Githyanki, they're kind of just big bullies. Not too, I'm not too much afraid of them. It's just kind of like when you're by yourself and they just hit you really hard, you're gonna be, hurting. Which, can you blame me? So I ended up using, or going through at least a lot of my barrels in this place, because I am a terrified little child. Thankfully, after we end up taking on the egg section of the Githyanki Crash, we do end up hitting level 7. My last level for Act 1, which, is always just a big thing to do. Gives us minor elemental. And we have a whole bunch of new spells we can get. Ice Storm is usually my go-to just because it's a big area of effect spell. And as much as I like the minor elementals, aside from like the ice ones, they're not really that good in my opinion. The bigger ones are where it's really at, but that's fine. Doing what I do best, I take a bunch of oil barrels, I go down to the Inquisitor, and I decide, let's have a little bit of a fun time and just blow them all up. Because that's what I do best. Baromancy is my signature. But that gives us the ability to go talk to our Dream Guardian, which isn't important. We then go to get the Blood of Lathander. And I was thinking to myself, have I taken on the Hag yet? I don't know. Have I? And I'm lying. I did not think of it at this time. I end up going up the elevator to go to Act 2. And I'm like, wait, no, I didn't do the Hag again. So the Hag is the very last thing we end up having to do, needing to at least for Act 1. And man, isn't this cutscene just beautiful? Look at it. Look at this. Oh, this is so beautiful, man. Again, I wish I had access to this type of weapon. I'm not going to waste a feat on trying to get it, but look at it. I love this. My character's so beautiful. So it was at this point I decided, let's finally go take on the Hag. And that's kind of like, that's really it. The Hag isn't too much of a problem, especially with us being level 7. So we end up just, aggroing her here. We chase her into her lair. We then fight her minions. And the create water spell, like I said, or spell ability for us, actually comes in handy again, trying to save Mayrina, because in our Jack of all trades run, I didn't have any water to throw on the cage she's trapped in. So she ended up falling to her doom. But since we have create or destroy water here, we're actually able to to save Mayrina from Auntie Ethel, which is great. But hey, that's gonna be it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any advice you want me to take for Act 2, or any tips, or even challenge runs you want to see in the future, let me know. I'm also gonna be working on a Baldur's Gate 3 walk, which will be coming soon. But hey, I hope you all have a beautiful day. I'm out. Peace.